Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me come in today to talk a little bit about designing for online communities. This always happens. But my background is that I'm a designer, I'm a marketer, been doing this for probably about 10 years now. And as Dave has mentioned, there are a lot of parallels between designing for communities and designing for commercial websites. So there are three major things we're going to talk about today: identifying communities, designing communities, and building communities. Now, each one of these has their own unique sort of challenges, but and I wanted to do this in a way that was linear, okay? Identifying something, just targeting, and then actually putting something together on paper, and then actually building and growing the community. For me, building is the most difficult. This is what I have to do every day for other companies, because they've already designed their look. They have already designed what they want to do. It's up to us now to build it. So for me, building is number one. But again, you're going to see a lot of parallels between the two, or between the three. So these are, I went ahead, this is a list of the usual suspects that we see today. Everyone, I mean, I'm sure you've mentioned or seen some of these, or part of one or two of these communities. These communities are doing something really, really well for each one of their communities. They're fulfilling a niche, okay? God, I think I've covered pretty much all of them. But does anyone recognize, or do you use more than one or two of these services? Raise your hand. So everyone knows they use these communities. How do you feel about overall how they treat you guys? Do you think they do a pretty good job? Okay, somewhat. Do you think they can do better? Do you think you can do better than they can? What I'd want to do is put an X on every single one of these guys, because they've already fulfilled a niche. There's nothing I can do or we can do to make them better, because they've got the private investments and the capital behind it to make their sites better if we wanted to compete against these guys. So they've already done a good job. So why create another Me Too? Yeah.
Well, I have a question on that, because say Friendster.
Yeah.
And by the way, I only recognize like 50% of those, if that. But,
okay.
Friendster was sort of the first mover.
All right.
On the social networking. Then came, I'm not sure where MySpace and Facebook, which one preceded the other.
Okay.
But MySpace and Facebook both pretty much took the market away from Friendster, even though someone else had come up with this concept.
Yeah, I think early on that there was opportunity to come in and take the market share from Friendster because they weren't established. But I think that at this point, a lot of these names have that brand recognition, and they're pretty much solidified for some time to come. I mean, I'm sure if you were to create a new technology that comes out that blows away some of these guys, then you're there. But I think for the purpose of today's discussion is to talk about the next piece, and that's mega niches. These are other sites, okay? How many of you heard of some of these sites? I don't know if you could see it very well, but they're very niche. And they don't demand a lot of traffic as you would imagine. Like, for example, this one here, Ultimate Guitar, is for aficionados of guitar players, okay? You wouldn't think that there's a lot of guitar players out there who want to share sheet music, who want to rate lessons, just anything and everything for guitar users. But guess what? 1.4 million people use that site every month. So that's nothing to scoff about. It's a very niche site that takes care of a very niche problem. And I think that's the thing I wanted to share with you today was there's all these opportunities out there, but let's look at niches. Okay. So this is basically Marketing 101. when we have to start a campaign for people, we have to ask 3 fundamental questions. We have to ask, who's my audience? What's the problem? And how can I fix it? Okay, and when you start out, it's huge. It's like you have a blank canvas, and the possibilities are endless. So what do I do? I mean, it's just the possibilities are daunting. So to help narrow down this stuff for you, I think you should ask these 3 questions when you're going to identify your online community. And that's, again, who is my audience? What problems can I fix from the audience? And how can my solution enhance the community? And I think you definitely want to enhance the community. And let me give you an example here. So my mom has a big problem with my sister. Okay? It's not my problem, but it's their problem. My sister's not married. Okay? And in my culture, it's acceptable for arranged marriages. Okay? There's nothing wrong with it, but my mom belongs to a subsect of a community that believes in a certain way. So what'd she do? She goes online to shadi.com. She becomes a member, and she opens up her profile and starts looking for suitors. This is not just Match.com. This is like, I'm going to find you a husband. Okay? So she goes on here, but this is the thing. The community are like-minded individuals. They all agree in this practice. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's a place for them to congregate, to share, and to explore, and to hopefully find somebody that, they could spend the rest of their lives with.
For their daughters.
For their daughters. Okay, let's look at the audience too. Let's go back to that whole, the 3 principles thing. Who's my audience? Parents. What's the problem? They're not married. How do I fix the problem? We're going to get them married. Okay? That's what Shadi.com does. It fulfills that niche, and it fulfills it very well. Okay? The reason why this site is so good for them is because it answers the questions very quickly. You get a large talent pool of suitors, grade A marriage material, and you can make qualified decisions quicker. You have exactly that information right then and there. There's no digging. Okay? Imagine if you had to do this offline. This community is slower because you have to go through a number of dates, and you got to meet the guy, and you're limited to locality. That you'd waste a week and a half or 2 weeks or 2 months, and the guy wouldn't be the right guy. Okay? This community makes decisions quicker for the parents as well as for some of the suitors over here. I mean, he's good to go. Okay? There's somebody for him. Maybe not for my sister who doesn't like him, but there's somebody for him. Okay? So again, the audience, the problem, how can I fix it? Go back. How many people do you think go to this site every month? Just throw out a number. 2 million a month? How many?
400,000.
A little lower. It's not 2 million, it's not 400,000. You can go to the next one. It's actually a steady 8,000 people a month. Go to this website. And you would think, well, 8,000 is, but it's a lot. It's a lot of people. It's not the 1.4 million you would hope for, but again, it's very targeted. Okay, there's not a lot of people who may think this way, but steady 8K is not bad. You may want to jot this site down. It's compete.com, and it's a really great little tool you can use to survey your competition. How much traffic do you think somebody's getting? You can see over the course of a year what they're typically getting. This isn't the end-all be-all of traffic. This is just to give you a snapshot. Typically, if a domain is less than 1 year old, you won't have this data available to you. But again, this gives you a snapshot of what you're going to be up against. So it's just a good tool to have. This is another niche site. How many of you heard of Threadless? Couple people here. Threadless. Threadless is a really cool idea. It's actually built by some people here in Chicago. The name of the company is Skinny Corp. They're a bunch of designers. and web developers and that kind of stuff who decided to create a community